Hi, my name is Mrs. Branscombe. I'm the librarian at Edward E. Drew Middle School, and today we're going to talk about note taking. Now, when I was in elementary school, I recall the teacher showing us how to take notes on the board. We would copy them down, or maybe they gave us a graphic organizer that we would fill out as we completed our class notes that day and learned about a new topic. But then when I got to middle school and then eventually on to high school and college, I realized that the teacher is not going to always tell you what is the most important thing. That when you are studying and learning new information, that everybody really learns in a different way. So while we might have all taken the same notes in elementary school, really the notes that I was taking were what the teacher said was really important. And that is important to know. However, I did not realize that when I was taking my own notes, I didn't know what was the most important notes to take. I didn't really know what I should be drawing or writing. No one really tells you that. And while you're in class, it's important to realize that note taking is really meant for you. No one is going to come behind you and say you get an A+ on your note taking. But what does matter is that when you take notes, you are helping your brain to get the new information from short-term memory into your long-term memory. And you might think, oh, well, if I sit there in class and I listen to the teacher and I pay attention, and I'll learn the information. There's little bad news because if you only interact or if you only see that new information one time or a couple times, you might not get that into your long-term memory. People need to interact with new information in many different ways. And that's what we're going to talk about today. And let's begin. Okay, so what do we need? Let's get our materials. Now, essentially, you're probably thinking for note-taking, you're going to need something to write with. For the most part, a pencil or a pen, even markers, or something that maybe you like special pens and they're different colors, that is a-okay. And I like to have a highlighter, but here's the thing. I have even misplaced my pen before, and I have taken notes with a highlighter. So you pretty much use whatever you have around. And then you can always use paper, regular note paper, or maybe even like a notebook. So that's pretty much it. After you have that, we say done. So that's the first part. Get your materials ready. Now let's begin with our first kind of note-taking. It's called mind mapping. Mind maps have the main idea or the title in the center, and then they have subtopics and get more details as you go farther out. So looking here at the animals, it then goes out to mammals, amphibians, reptiles, and birds, and then to different types. You can get into as much detail and be as creative as you like. So for our practice today, we're going to take a common story that has the main idea in the center. And we'll start with the Three Little Pigs. We all know the story of the Three Little Pigs. And as we branch off of our mind map, I can think of putting things, in first, second, or third. But since this is a story, I'm going to do beginning. And then I say, oh, there's 3 pigs, there's a wolf. I give a little bit more information. And I also will notice that at the beginning of the story, the wolf blows the straw house down. So that was not the best decision. So next, we're going to move on to the middle or part 2 or however you want to label it. And we say in the middle of the story, we have the stick pig. All right. You can even add in more details that the straw house pig came over as well and they blew the house down. Then I work on the end, so that they all go to the brick pig's house. And another thing to note is that if you misspell something or it's hard for you to read your own notes, guess what? When you go back to read it later, you will not remember what you wrote. So make sure that you fix and edit it. Next, I did put in the final conclusion that the pigs live, hooray! And I even went back and added a little more details like 1, 2, 3, ways to keep me organized. Our next type of notes is called outlining. With outlining, you keep main topics all the way to the left, and then as you get more details, you move into the right. So here's a sample. Let's pretend that I am in Miss Corsano's class today, and we're learning about civil rights and different activists that helped. And we begin talking about Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., and Miss Corsano tells us, oh, about the early life, and then we get more details and about the family of Dr. King, and then also really what he did for civil rights. Now, you'll notice I'm putting in my notes here, and Miss Corsano is not writing all the notes on the board, or maybe she is, but say I'm just listening. I want to make sure that as I'm writing my notes, that really I'm the one understanding why is he important. His actions helped our country to change laws and change opinions of how African Americans were treated before. To give another look, let's look at the Three Little Pigs story. So for here, again, I put my topic at the top, and I've broken the story up just like we did before into beginning, middle, and end. In outlining, they use Roman numerals, and then they use letters, and then they use smaller Roman numerals. So here we have the beginning of the story. The three little pigs build a house made of, and there's 3 of them, straw, sticks, bricks, and then I start to move and indent as I go along with more details. The wolf comes to the straw house, the wolf wants in, pigs say no, and the wolf blows the house down. Then the middle of the story. And you'll see that I added some pictures here too that just kind of help me to sum up what happened in the story. So here again, the wolf threatened to blow the house down, blew the house down, the pigs go to the brick pig's house. And here the story changes just a little bit, but I give as much detail as I can as I indent and move along. So you'll notice that style of Roman numeral, letter, number, but you could really do bullet points. You could write 1, 2, 3, whatever works for you. So what did we learn about note-taking? Well, just as a reminder that really the notes are for the person taking the notes, for the student, aka you. And that really we all take notes differently, just like we all learn differently. And that's okay. And then 3, really what's important is that you need to find the way that works for you. And that might be trying out different ways like mind mapping, like we did first, or outlining, like we just went over, or maybe you have another way, your own way, and that's great. Good luck and learn lots. Have a great year.